Hi, and welcome to How to Love Living, episode 10. We've made it through 10 episodes so far. My name is Jeremy, and I am living in Seattle, and the purpose of this podcast is to really talk about how to enjoy life, how to manage through the challenges, how to work through everything. So this week, I really want to talk about just the challenges of day-to-day living in the pandemic, and specifically I want to talk about stress and stress management. And this has recently come to light for me just in I have a lot of different things going on as we're going through the pandemic, as we're going through the challenges that we have. Life is still happening. So if you're going through and have a sick relative, or if you are unemployed and looking for a new job, or if you have a challenge in any relationships, interpersonal relationships with individuals that you live with, it can be challenging. It can be challenging to really navigate through it, plus all the stress of our politics, the election, and all that stuff. And so this week I want to talk a bit about that. I've been going through a bit of that stress myself. As a very stressful week for me, and I kind of had some moments where things weren't great, but what I'll say is it kind of taught me a lesson that was good. So it taught me the lesson of slowing down and giving yourself space. I'm one of those people that just wants to go, 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 go. I want to go through and do this. I want to go through and do that. I want to go through and do all the things. And the problem with that is when you're trying to do it all, you don't give yourself a lot of space. And so that was where I was struggling because I was trying to do everything, and I wasn't giving myself space to breathe and to just be there and be present. And of course, there's stress in my life. We all have stress. That's both on the personal level, that's on just relationship level, that's on, our national politics level, everything. I think that, I got all the stress that everyone else has, and I know my challenges are different than other people's, and that's okay. That doesn't minimize or negate my challenges, but it also doesn't negate your challenges. And so in this, I think that sometimes an outcome of stress can be self-destructive behavior, or it could be that you're shopping. It could be that you're not being present with the people you love, or being present with friends. It may be that, you're in a place where you're just barely kind of navigating through it. And so the first thing I'll say, and this is what I've had to do, is just you almost have to pause. You have to put everything on pause, and you have to reflect. And especially if you have moments where you are forced into reflection, i.e., someone confronts you, or you have like a moment of self-realization, what you can do is pause, actualize it, like see it breathe it, be with it, and realize, oh, this is what I'm going through. And I kind of had that realization on Saturday. I kind of had, I had some stuff go on, and it kind of pushed me over the edge. And so then, I was struggling. I was struggling with just all the things that were happening. And so it did force me into a moment of reflection where I'm like, oh, this is much worse than I thought it was. And so then I put everything on pause. I just paused everything, and I just got quiet. And really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just analyze, where is this coming from? Is it just everything all at once, or is there specific things? And in the end, I kind of came to the conclusion that yes, there's things that I'm stressed about, but it's everything. There isn't like one thing that is above the others, because there's nothing I can't handle, but more that I was just overwhelming myself. So when we're going through moments of stress, or we're going through, even moments of crisis and stress where it's kind of got us in a bind, what I'll say is that what you have to do is my like theme right now is slow down, relax, just be with yourself and just relax. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to get more sleep. I've been trying to work on things that make me happy, work on getting, all the things. And so I want to talk a bit about managing stress once you have an actualization of, oh crap, I'm stressed out. The first thing I'll recommend is meditation. Sometimes just having quiet and just having like a moment where you can just not even self reflect, but rather just quiet is very helpful. And so you can just sit in a room, you can go take a bath, you can go sit in the car, somewhere where it's quiet. There's not a lot of activity going on around you, and just be with the moment. I think that helps in just getting you centered again and getting you back kind of on the path of healthiness. The other thing I'll recommend is activities, but fun activities. So, if anything, especially when you're stressed out, if you're doing anything that brings on stress, you gotta stop. And you have to do activities that relieve stress. So, maybe an activity would be doing art, like creating something. Maybe an activity would be going on a walk, or maybe an activity would be creating or listening to music, or just relaxing in general, watching your favorite TV show, knitting, anything to give yourself a breather and just be with whatever you're doing. And definitely don't bring on more stress. So, and usually how I manage that is I say no a lot to a lot of things, and that helps me in mitigating the stress level. I think the other thing you can do is a lot of good self-care. And so what self-care looks like is exactly kind of what it says. So it's taking care of yourself. So for me, that includes taking a bath. I really love baths. I love like getting a bath and just like reading a book or listening to music, anything to kind of unwind. I find water is very balancing for me. It kind of takes me out of my skin in a way, and it's very relaxing. A good book. If you can find a good book, and this can be a any type of book. I think that it's relevant to stay away from charged topics. And what I mean by that is, and it's all based on your personality. But for me, that would be staying away from political books. That would be staying away from any kind of serial killer books, or, anything that's really going to put me in the wrong headspace. And so, like, right now, I'm avoiding any scary psychological drama movies. I'm watching more, just more relaxing type TV shows and that sort of stuff. In fact, it's funny because the book that I've started reading to just relax on is it's just the history, the Elizabethan world, the world that Charles Dickens and all the famous kind of stuff came out of, and what that world was like, what the day to day activities were for individuals. And it's a good book. It's good in a way that it makes me feel better about our world, but also it's good in a way that it just gives my mind a way to uncheck and just relax. So the next thing is on self-care is giving yourself space to breathe. And you're going to have a lot of obligations. We all do. Being in our modern world is a very stressful activity. There's not a lot of time for relaxation, and there's a lot of time for all the stresses that we're kind of put under. 100, no, not 100, but 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, our stresses were more basic. How do we get food? How do we get shelter? Now our stress is more nuanced. It's, how am I going to pay this bill? Or how am I going to navigate this relationship? Or how am I going to fulfill this thing I have to do at work? Or, it's just a more complex world. And, we have a lot of challenges right now. And so, you know, getting back to the basics and getting back to giving yourself space to breathe. And, like right now, I'm not taking in news. I know there's terrible things happening in the world, and the news loves feeding that to me. And so I'm not taking that in. I'm not taking in news, and I'm taking in like activities on my favorite hobbies and stuff, but I'm not taking in the news in general. So what I am doing then, my goal is to spend the next week putting a lot of focus on this stuff. So putting a lot more focus on being there for myself, especially in the evenings and when I have time. And then when I am under stress, dealing with the stress and then taking a break and giving myself a breather, and really just taking, it's almost like micromanaging stress. And because sometimes, and we're all different personalities, and I get that. I know we all are distinctively different. For me, I go, 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 go. And I don't really think about the psychological effect things have on me. Rather, I just dive in. And this could be a difficult conversation in a relationship, or this could be, dealing with very complex things with work, or this could be taking on new challenges in the evening, like learning how to edit in a completely new program. I just go, 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 go. And then there's moments where I just have just kind of a, I think that it's more of either I kind of go off the deep end and I start like, you know, I think really for me, the deep end would be that I'm not present in my relationships. I start like checking out. I start like just, I go do some retail therapy or something like that. And then I have to reflect and I say, wait, why am I doing this stuff? Like, this is stuff I don't normally do. I'm usually there and available for my friends. I'm usually pretty judicious in my shopping. So then I have to stop, reflect, and then get back onto the right road. And I think that everyone goes through that in their own specific ways. And I think that it's positive and I think it's healthy to recognize when you're going down a road and then pause, bring yourself back to center, and start doing self care and start managing stress. Yeah, that's basically it. I hope you found this helpful. I think that this episode is as for me as much as it is for you because I know the methodologies that work in managing stress and I have to remind myself and this is kind of the lifelong journey that we're all on is managing stress and managing these things. We learn these lessons and sometimes it's easy to forget them because we don't have to use them often, or we're so good at managing stress, and I would say I'm pretty good at managing stress. I usually have moments like I did this weekend, and that is over like a 3 to 6 month period of time before I have something like that. And it's good when that happens for me though, because it gets me recentered and it gets me back to what I need to be doing to, you know, not push myself so hard that I'm just running myself ragged. And that's basically what I was doing. And stress added on top of that just really hurt. And so now I'm taking it slower. I'm meeting the obligations I'm committed to, and yeah, and just very cognizant using the techniques I mentioned in this episode to, you know, manage through it. And one day, my goal is to do two things. One is make sure that I always have a positive perspective on things. And sometimes when you're going under a lot of stress, it's very difficult to have a positive perspective. But that's one thing I want to start doing is changing my frame of mind. And I'm actually reading a few books that I'll kind of discuss in future episodes about how you change your frame of mind actually changes how you participate in the world and it changes outcomes of what happens in your world. And I think that's amazing. So it's something I want to try. So that's kind of a long term thing I want to do is I want to start working on that. And then the second thing I want to do is I want to get really diligent about managing stress. And I think having a perspective of things will help, like having control of my perspective. And then I think that then managing things, meaning that when a stressful event happens, or if really bad news happens, or if I'm pushing myself too hard, then I recognize it quicker and I slow down quicker. So some people are very unconscious of their stress levels. So some people just go, 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 and then they have some major, event or something that puts them over the deep end. And some people, are really good at managing it day to day. And so I'm just one of those people that can go, 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 go. And then, 3, 6, sometimes a year, then I got to have a moment where I'm like, okay, we got to do a reset and we have to be cognizant and present with the stress. And it actually is kind of a relief. There's a relief in having that realization that, oh, I'm going through a lot of stress and I'm taking on too much. I need to like slow down. And I love it. Like, slowing down is one of those things that I just gotta like keep in the back of my mind as I'm going about my business. Is the goal with slow down isn't to, necessarily not accomplish as much, but rather it's, do I really need to read the news while I'm working on a project? Or do I really need to add this thing to my life experience? And I think the news is like a primary one for me. News, it's it's so distressing. So, and there's nothing new. I'm just home all day long, so there's nothing new that's gonna drive my day-to-day experience when I read the news. So really, I could probably read the news once a month and get like the general gist of what had happened that month. But that's something I'm more aware of now is what things am I taking in and what things am I adding to my life, and am I adding things that are good for me and keeping me moving forward, or am I adding things like the news where, yeah, it's interesting, but is it absolutely necessary? So, yeah, that's how I manage my stress. If you have any questions or you want to reach out, you can reach me at contact@howtoloveliving.com. You can also visit howtoloveliving.com and you can reach me there. The podcast is listed there, and all the show notes and everything will be there as well as on this podcast episode. Well, I'm going to end it for today. Thank you so much for listening. And we had our 10th episode, and I'm looking forward to more and more episodes as we move forward. It's kind of funny because I have so many episode ideas. So I have just a ton of episode ideas already, and I'll start one and I'll put it aside because I know it's something I want to talk about when I'm kind of in that mindset. And so, like, the stress one kind of came from just my experience this week. And I do think that some of these episodes will come from the experiences. Like, I need to really be in a space for that topic to really be a good fit. And so, right now, stress is a good conversation because I think, and one thing to think about too with stress is just think about the goals you're trying to achieve. Like right now, I have a ton of goals I'm trying to achieve that I added on for the new year. And so I think that too does cause stress. So just think about the things that you're bringing into your life that are stressful and try to figure out if you can either mitigate them or eliminate them. Like I'm eliminating news. I'm like, well, I got to cut something out, and I'm not cutting my goals, I'm not cutting the podcast, I'm not cutting, anything else like my family and friends. But I can cut the news out. That's a pretty easy cut. And it's a huge stress relief. I don't want to read it. And it's less stressful now, but it's just bad news. I'm like, I don't need that. Anyway, I'm going to end the episode. If you want to just contact me, definitely do reach out and I'll respond. And thank you so much for listening. Have an amazing week, and we'll talk next week. This has been How to Love Living, episode 10.